So this week's topic of Hamuna Mondays was isolating the variables. And before we begin, the class is dedicated to a couple names, so I'm just going to say them now and just have them in mind as you're listening. Le'uli Nishmat for Yosef ben Devora, Gabriel Masauda Batsara, and Yosef Meir ben Avram Shmuel. May all their neshamas of the ultimate aliyah, as well as a refuah shalema for Eliezer ben Miriam Rezel. So the topic of isolating the variables. I decided to go with this topic because of the fact that over the past week, just multiple times, whether it was in my own personal life or people that I've just overheard or they've reached out to me, mentioning like the concept of feeling overwhelmed. Like they just feel overwhelmed, like everything's just crashing in and it's just a lot. And I mean, it's probably the most relatable feeling out there. I think every single person has that kind of experience in their life, whether on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, whatever it is, they experience it. And I just thought, you know what, I'd make a topic and try to explain it from a perspective that's not the typical one. That way it can affect and reach a different group. So the angle I'm going with is in the name, isolating the variables. A friend of mine actually mentioned it. I mentioned isolating the variables, and my friend then said it's actually very similar with like math. I was like, oh, okay, it's actually a very valid point. In math, you can look at, especially when you're younger, you're looking at letters, you're looking at numbers, you're looking at a whole math equation, and you're like, what in the world is happening? And it's overwhelming. It's like, what in the world is this? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And the truth is, it's extremely overwhelming when you're seeing all these things. You're like, I don't even know where to start. So what do? Isolate the variable. Go with each part at one time. Like PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents. Like there's a process of elimination. And when one carries that mentality, which is taught in grade school, into their actual life, it's a great solution to countering the fact and the feeling of being overwhelmed. And how is that? It's because I'm a firm believer that every single person can handle whatever they're going through. God does not give you something you can't handle. It's a known biblical statement, and I've lived it, and I feel like it's 100% a fact. But again, there are times when when the person says it's too much, they're not saying each individual thing is too much. They're more saying that the fact that everything all at once right now is too much. Individually, I can handle everything. I can handle school. I can handle relationship. I can handle the job. I can handle family. I can handle um, casual time. But all together, wow, it feels a bit overwhelming. So, what's the method that one should go about? The method is isolating the variable. Focus on relationship is one. You know, success is two, job is three. Like, just isolate whatever all of these things are. They're not a bundle package. We constantly feel like it's a bundle package, and when it's all bundled up, we forget about certain things. Certain things come up without us expecting it. We have tunnel vision on one angle, when the truth is just pace yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. Isolate each one. Each one has nothing to do with each other. You know, one could easily focus on finding a job when they feel like that is the main priority, finding a job. So make it your main priority. For that moment, make it the main priority. And it's not like, oh, but I can't focus on finding a job because I'm in the dating area, or I'm doing this, and what if this? You're factoring too many things in at one time, which is now resulting in you feeling overwhelmed. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept, but yet seems like it's a difficult thing to actually structure and like follow. It's like we know it's a solution, but the application end is not that. It's easier said than done to have a bunch of things all around and you just isolating each one and not basing one off of another. Your success for one thing does not deviate the fact that from like another thing that you're in the process of. There's many times that I've heard and even felt, it's like I can't celebrate here because I know what lies ahead. Or I know I'm not holding where I want to be given a certain circumstance. Like, one has nothing to do with the other. Celebrate that. Good job. And now move on to the next thing. And it's like 1 minute you can be happy celebrating, and the other minute you're sitting there and stressing and planning something else out. And there's nothing wrong with that. One has nothing to do with the other. They're two separate goals, two separate accomplishments, two separate variables. And it's very common because we live in this day and age where especially religion is seen as a all or nothing concept, black or white. You know, when it's not that simple. It's not that black. It's not black and white. And I'm a firm believer that the Torah was not meant to be mass produced, not meant to be mass shared, mass produced. That wasn't the concept of it. I'm a firm believer of that. At Har Sinai, when Moses got the Torah, he didn't just go and mass produce it to every single person in the Jewish, like all the Jews. He didn't. He gave it to he got it. He gave it to the judges. The judges gave it to their people. And they passed it on. It was like 72 level. It was like Moses taught the 72 judges, and the judges taught that. It was very broken apart. And when anybody that understands that concept would know that you're then expected to get multiple different conclusions. You can read one sentence to 5 different people at the same table. 5 different people are sitting at the same table learning from the same rabbi, and you can actually get over 5 different conclusions. Does that mean one is right, one is wrong? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean one's right and one's wrong. They're all right. And with that knowledge, that's really where I feel we start losing people, is when we start segregating ourselves. And there's a big difference between segregation and isolation. Isolating the variable is great, but segregating it isn't. It's like, what do you mean? What's the difference between segregation and isolation? Well, segregation has a negative connotation to it. Segregation means the separation while the other one feels less than. One feels less than when separating. But isolating, nobody feels less than. There's no concept of feeling less than when you're just isolating, as opposed to segregating. Segregating was very clearly their separation, given the fact that boom, 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 these people all will feel a certain way. That's a big difference. And that commonly happens when people try to, separate themselves from equations, is they feel like they're less than. It's like, I'm not good enough to be in this. You're not good enough this given right now, so you need to separate and work on yourself. That's not true. It's just take each layer with a grain of salt, like literally just one layer at a time, and understand that it's a process. There's nothing wrong with things being a process, and they take time. We live in this day and age where we want everything right now, everything instant. And it's taking away the beauty of things. When things are not worked for and there's no effort being put into something, it's obviously very easy to replace it, because there wasn't much work. But if you built something and you're really going at it and you're stressing out and you're putting a lot of work and labor into it, you're not going to be that quick to just replace it. You're going to be sitting there trying to fix it as much as you can, because there's a lot of work went in. There's nothing wrong with that. It's something that's actually very beautiful. People think, I want to have the perfect relationship. I want to have the perfect this. I want the perfect that. There's no value to perfect. There's no value to perfection. The value is, and like I said in so many classes before, it's in the effort. It's in the craftsmanship. Any artist knows that. You can go and print a famous picture of the Mona Lisa, or you can get the original one that was painted that probably has errors, and this. There's value in errors. So with that, I hope every single person here and listening has an amazing week and understand it's not all or nothing. So again, the Ulei Nishmat for Yosef Meir ben Avram Shmuel, Gabriel Masaud Bat Sarah, and Yosef ben Devora. as well as a refuah shalema for Eliezer ben Miriam Rezel. Have a great week.